Had you have my heart? All you're looking for is me. Can't tell me what you need. Boy, you know just who you are. Hold my hand, don't go too far. All you're looking for is me. Can't tell me what you need. What you babe, 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 what you need, babe, babe. Tell me what you need, babe, 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 what you need, what you need.
I don't know who's Margot.
Many individuals do not think about the damage they are causing on biodiversity. However, it is important as humans to realize the impact we have on biodiversity because without it, there would be no human existence. If no changes are made in the ways humans use resources on Earth, there will be continued to be degradation of biodiversity until human lives can no longer be sustained. Humans affect biodiversity by their population numbers, use of land, and their lifestyles, causing damage to habitats for species. It is important for humans to realize how their actions affect biodiversity and the importance of maintaining what biodiversity is left on the earth. Through proper education and by demanding that governments make decisions to preserve biodiversity, the human population will be able to sustain life on Earth longer. What is biodiversity? Biodiversity is the term that is given to describe the variety of life on Earth and the natural patterns it forms. Biodiversity involves diversity of genes within a species, of species within ecosystems, and of ecosystems in the biosphere. Biodiversity is not determined by only one factor, but rather many factors that differ spatially and temporally. Although many humans may not realize how important biodiversity is to them, it is clear that without it humans would not be able to exist. Each day, humans use 40,000 species, most of which go totally unnoticed. Even though only a minority of humans realize it, biodiversity provides humans with food, water, oxygen, energy, detoxification of waste, stabilization of Earth's climate, medicine, opportunities for recreation and tourism, and many more things. Simply put, there would be no population of humans without biodiversity. The extinction of species. The most obvious indicator on biodiversity is the number of species on the planet. Currently, there are 1.75 million species that have been identified. However, some speculate that there are at least 10 million living species on Earth. To look at the loss of biodiversity, the number of extinction of species should be examined. Rates of extinction are currently up to 40,000 species per year. This rate is 50-100 times the natural rate of extinction and is expected to increase in the coming years. The extinction rate is of great concern because one species is extinct, there is no chance of ever getting the species back on the planet. Three main problems that cause species extinctions are habitat loss, habitat degradation, and habitat fragmentation. Habitat loss is described as the complete destruction of habitat. An example of habitat loss would be logging of a forest. And habitat degradation is when the habitat diminishes to a point where it can no longer support biological communities. An example of this would be habitats that are polluted by industry. And lastly, the habitat fragmentation is described as a habitat that is broken into smaller discontinuous segments of land for development. An example of this would be putting a road in the middle of habitat. All of three of these problems that result in species extinctions are directly related to human influence. Human actions. There is no clear way of determining the total impact that humans are making on biodiversity. However, it is obvious that many actions by humans are causing a decrease in biodiversity. To determine the total impact that humans are making on a given environment, the area of productive land and water needed to produce the item that is being consumed, and the need to account for the waste being generated by humanity must all be taken into account according to management and production practices in use during that time. Direct or indirect action by humans have resulted in the decrease of biodiversity. The Convention of Biological Diversity states that there are both indirect and direct human drivers. Some of the indirect human drivers are demographic, economic, sociopolitical, scientific and technological, and cultural and religious factors. Some of the direct human drivers are changes in local land use and the land cover, species introductions or removals, external inputs, harvesting, air and water pollution, and climate change. The increase in human inhabitants causes a problem because with it comes a need to convert natural habitats to land for human consumption. Human actions have also played a role in climate change, which is also causing great danger for biodiversity. The change in climate is due to increased atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide, which causes increased land and ocean temperatures, and changes in precipitation and sea level rise. With a change in climate also comes a change in species. Climate affects the timing of reproduction and migration, the length of growing seasons, species distributions and population size, and the frequency of pest and disease outbreaks. It is also expected the change in climate in the 21st century will have a much higher rate than the past years. Poverty and biodiversity. Biodiversity affects everyone to varying degrees. People that live in poverty depend heavily upon nature to provide them with resources to live. In third world countries like Philippines, logging has become a common activity of the poor. It is a huge problem in many developing countries because it is destroying natural habitats, yet it seems to be one of the only ways that people can make enough money to support their families. Biodiversity is an issue that affects everyone, and therefore everyone should be aware of their effect on biodiversity. As biodiversity decreases on Earth, so do the chances of human survival. Therefore, it is important to educate people on living in equilibrium with the environment. If humans become extinct, it will likely be a result of their own action or lack of action. Hopefully, humans will realize this before it is too late. Thank you for watching.